Are you sure you can drive?
Yeah, I got this. We're on a date.
Okay.
You know where you're going! Oh, shit!
This person is a good actress. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome to Nicole Reacts, where I, Nicole, react to online marketing gurus that I find on the internet. My qualifications for snark and commentary are that I've owned a marketing company for 14 years, working with approximately 500 clients in that time. One of those clients being myself, because I have two businesses that are non-marketing enterprises that need, obviously, marketing and sales help. So I've seen marketing from both sides of the table, as we say, as well as being a consumer myself. So today's person is Ed Mylett. Now, I've always wanted to do this guy because his last name rhymes with my last name, and not many things do. But that's honestly where the similarities end between us. So I've heard of this guy in different spaces. He's a speaker kind of guy, and a lot of his content is sort of interviews with business people and motivational content. So I was trying to figure out, okay, I know he's talked about a lot in MLM circles. Is there an MLM connection? And I just kind of wanted to see like what his deal was generally. He seems to be known by multi-level marketing people, and kind of his main kind of claim to fame is that he joined the World Financial Group, which is an MLM, back in 1992. So almost 31 years ago. Imagine being one of the first people in an MLM 30 years ago, right? And he, I think at one point was in the MLM and then kind of moved to the leadership of that group. And then it seems like he also does a little bit of sort of media stuff. He has this show where he like interviews thought leaders or influencers, that kind of thing. And it seems like through that, he parlays that into, being a speaker, a trainer, that kind of, the usual thing that these people do. It seems like for the most part, does very general, like rah sales stuff when he's by himself. But in terms of the meat and potatoes of the content, seems to be covered by the people he interviews. So I picked an interview called How to Gain a Massive Following Organically on Instagram with Amanda Senry. And this is approximately an hour long. To me, what I'm looking for when I'm looking for someone who's a good interviewer is not only do they pull interesting information out of the person, but they're also able to direct the conversation, not in a forceful way, but just in a way that the audience who's watching the interview can appreciate. They've also typically come to the interview very prepared. So like if you're interviewing an author, like that you've actually read their book, or at least a portion of their book, and talked to people who read the book, something like that. So that's what I am looking for, is that I want to see that Ed Mylett is a good interviewer and gets the information out of Amanda Senry, and that he is able to add context maybe to her information as well, showing that he's knowledgeable about the topic. Now, if you want to have some fun, I'm going to make some predictions and invite you to do the same, and we can kind of see if we're right. You can also download the bingo card. Zoe Wood, friend of the channel, made us a bingo card. It's super great, and I linked their socials below if you want to check out their work. So without further ado, let's see Ed Mylett interviewing an influencer. We're going to experiment with this format. Sometimes I feel like the other format, I'm like a little bit too small, so you can't see me like make expressions about things. If they pull out a visual or something, or if this isn't working, I might change this in the video, but let's continue.
Did you want to be an actress back then too?
Holy cow. Okay, so in the LinkedIn bio, it mentioned his career as a college athlete, and I have seen pictures of him, so I knew he worked out, but like this is way beefier than I was expecting him to be. This is so interesting.
Influencer on social media. Like, what did you think you were going to be doing?
I didn't even know social media was the thing. I think we used MySpace.
As if this girl's old enough to know what MySpace is. I was a prolific user of MySpace back in 2005. Oh, I'm so curious. Maybe she's older than I think she is. But I'm just thinking like,
oh, well, there's this app called Vine. So I started getting the Vines, and then my Vine started getting more and more popular.
Okay, she's okay. There is a whole group of people that kind of became social media famous off of Vine. So she's one of those people. Okay, good to know.
Popular, and I noticed I was getting on the top pages, like the
Yes.
more I learned about it. Of what recently happened in Puerto Rico, the hurricane, and it just
Why are we in a gym, by the way? So check out the background when we're back in there. They're in a gym. I feel like this guy probably has a ton of money, or could at least like make, I don't know. The fact that they're in a gym is interesting to me, but maybe there's a reason for it.
completely destroyed Puerto Rico. Like they needed a lot of help. When I saw it on the news and just watching it, and I was like, I wish I could do something. And I'm like, wait, I can. And then I raised over 100,000 in like a week and brought 12 physicians that were just going to stay there and like help people.
This is what makes people successful. Not just notoriety, not just fame, but taking their great gifts and talents and making the world better. Welcome back to Max Out with Ed Mylett. Fired up about today's program because of this lady to my left, who is... She is one of the most influential people in the world on social media, which makes you one of the most influential people in the world, ironically. So
that's awesome.
So this is Amanda.
Oh my God. I want to fix like the framing of this so badly, like to just like move the camera down a little bit, because it looks like their legs are being cut off, and they wouldn't have to be. Getting that top part of the gym isn't as important, but what do I know?
Cerny, everybody. Thank you for being here.
No, of course. Thanks for having me.
It's going to be
in
awesome.
The gym.
We're in the gym. We're at Elevator Studios in Hollywood. My friend Dan Fleischman allowed us to be here today to take
Elevator Studios in Hollywood. Okay, so is it a gym or is it a studio?
advantage of this space. So we're grateful to him as well. So fired up. I got a lot I want to ask you.
Ooh,
And a lot of people want to know more about you too. So
I love that.
So-
No, I'm ready.
all right, let's do this.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So you may not know just a couple things. This is like bananas numbers, right? But you're talking about a person who has 20 million plus followers on Instagram. Shoot, her backup account has more followers than I have, right? Several million people on YouTube. About 35 million people engage with you somehow. Her stories on Instagram are like in the top 5 most watched stories on the planet on Instagram, which is just unbelievable, right? And so she's a highly sought after person. And I think a lot of people out there want to know more about you that are
Okay, I'm curious about her accounts. We'll go look at them, but I'm going to pull them up in a tab while I keep playing this.
fans of yours. She's also, by the way, one of the great actresses out here in the Hollywood area too, that we're going to talk about those parts of your career too. But a lot of people want to know more about you. And I think the other part of it is people would like to know how to build some type of a following too on social media too, from the business space. So we're going to go at both
For
angles.
sure.
So,
Yeah.
so you went to Florida or Florida State?
So no, I went to Florida State,
Yep.
but before that, I went
Yeah.
to UCF. So
You did? Okay.
yeah, and in Florida, there's this thing called dual enrollment.
Okay.
So it's where you can take college courses while you're in high school,
Okay.
and then you get high school credit and college credit, and
Okay.
it's free.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, get me in that for my junior and senior year. So when I went to school, I basically had my AA degree.
You
So,
did already.
yeah.
Okay.
And then Orlando was closer, so I went to UCF for a year, and I was like, didn't have the college vibe. So then I transferred to Florida State.
You did. And
Yeah.
did you, were at Florida State, is this what you wanted to do? Did you want to be an actress back then too? An influencer on social media? Like, what did you think you were going to be doing?
I didn't even know social media was a thing in like college. No, and I think we used MySpace still like at that time, and then Facebook was starting, and people were using that more, but just to talk to friends and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but when I was going to school, I wanted to do international business. So
Interesting.
yeah, my mom, I had this weird dream of being in the CIA. So it's
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay. I just looked up Amanda Senry and how old she is. She's 31. So I'm 41. So I'm 10 years older than her. She's old enough to have been on MySpace as a teenager. I guess when I was in my 20s on MySpace, I didn't really notice teenagers on there, really. I mean, I noticed like old, like 18, 19, 20-year-olds. I didn't notice high school kids on there. Then again, I wasn't really looking for that either. So anyway, let's continue. I just wanted to establish kind of how old she was, so that when she made references, like I think we used MySpace, like I'm getting a context of to how old she was when she started. So, okay, so she's starting using social media as a, as a young teenager.
So like school wasn't too difficult for me. It
Okay.
was mostly partying at Florida State,
Okay.
like that entertained me.
A lot of people relate to that.
Yeah. So it was college life.
Were
Yeah.
you like in drama or theater? Like, were you going to be an actress then?
No.
You're kidding me.
No, I mean, I always had fun,
Yeah.
putting on shows and stuff for like with my sisters and my family, but it was never like a career goal for me.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Because now I'm a lot older than you. You can't tell from looking at us, but I am. And so let me tell you who you remind me of, because I think your social media stuff is brilliant, right? And we're going to talk about that. But also, I just believe you're a really gifted performer, like a really gifted actress. And who you remind me of, and then this is even older than me, but do you know who Lucille Ball is?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever heard that before?
Yes.
Okay. Because I love Lucy. Like, I'd watch when I was a kid, it was already an old show, but she was amazing. And she was this beautiful woman who was like totally self-deprecating and like totally hilarious. And I think some of the most interesting, compelling people in life are people who show up totally differently than you think they're going to.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, I can't really think of someone else who's got like real beauty, obviously, but such like freaking hilarious person too. Right.
Thank you.
That's who you remind me of.
I appreciate that. That's a good compliment.
It's really
And Mylett hasn't met me yet.
true. And so, we're going to talk about some of your acting ambitions and all the success you've already had doing that too. But so you get out of college eventually. How does people want to know this? Because a lot of people watching this want to start careers, or they're entrepreneurial, or they're somehow engaged in social media. And it's probably going to show up differently than you think it's going to, right? Your life shows up differently than you think it's going to.
Sure, you can't map it out completely. You can't.
So you never mapped this part of it out, right?
Well,
How'd this start? How'd this whole phenomenon of you begin and happen?
So I was at college at Florida State, and like I said, I had a lot of free time because courses, like everything, it only took so much time.
Right.
Oh my God. I went to a really easy college, and so I had a bunch of free time, and that's what made me successful at social media. I'm sure the kids will like to hear this.
And I was on social media, and one of my friends messaged me, and they're like, "Oh, you should submit for Playmate for Playboy." And I was like, "No, yeah, why would I do that?" And then The Girls Next Door was on at the time.
Yeah.
And this was never in like, my dreams or whatever. It was just so spontaneous. And then I was like, "Oh, well, there was Marilyn Monroe, Cindy, like so many actresses have done it and everything." And
she was going to say, I think Cindy Crawford, but Cindy Crawford apparently was in Playboy. I think Marilyn Monroe was in Playboy, but I think it was under duress. I will see if I can find a link about that. But she started to say Cindy, and then she's like, I could tell, like, I don't really know if it was Cindy Crawford, but apparently Cindy Crawford was in Playboy, so.
Have done the covers. So I was like, it's cool. Like, I'll just send them bikini photos. They're not going to respond or say anything. Right. And the next day, they responded, and they were like, "We want to fly you out to California."
The next day?
Yeah, the next day. Okay. And I was like, okay, like, sure. But also at the time, like, I had to pay for everything on my own, like growing up, like my car, my college, my phone, like any vacations or whatever I wanted to do. So I'm like, a free trip to California.
Pretty cool.
What? So I was,
well, I mean, you are going to get naked and help them sell magazines. Okay. So this video is called How to Have a Massive Following Organically on Instagram. Okay. So she's about to be a Playboy model, and we know from the previous clips she was a Vine star. Can any of us replicate that? I'll let you answer that rhetorical question.
It's like, okay, sure. And then they flew me out in October, and I flew out and shot my a test shoot, and it was my first time ever posing nude for a centerfold. And
what was it like?
It was actually super comfortable. Like, I came to LA, I got picked up by a limo, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah.
And then
oh my God, I got picked up by a limo and they flew me out there. Okay, they're going to make tens of thousands of dollars off of you. They can spend a couple $100 getting you a flight and a limo and Oh God.
Brought me to the mansion, and then
Did you meet Hef? You did.
I had it, but I wasn't prepared at all. I'm like, I didn't, it's just so random.
Right.
And then I go to the mansion, and then I'm wearing like no makeup, like the worst dress ever, because I don't know, it's like a hand-me-down dress from my sister or something.
That's
and then
crazy.
I go in, and they have me go into the kitchen. They're like, you have to meet Hef now. I'm like, oh, now?
Oh my gosh.
And then he comes down, and then he's like, hi, I'm Hugh Hefner. So nice to meet you. And he was the nicest, like, biggest gentleman ever. And then I just
really the biggest gentleman ever. Really
met him for that second, and he went back upstairs, and then I went to the guest house, and then I was just there for a week just doing my test shoot, and I had access to like the whole mansion grounds, like 24-hour chef.
What a crazy, you're sitting like in college a week before, and now you're
I'm like, why am I here?
That's
so
amazing.
Random. But it was amazing.
That's like 2011-ish, isn't it? Somewhere around there. When was it?
2010.
2010. Okay. And then it came out in 2011.
Yeah. So I shot it when I was 19 at the time. And then that's when I shot my test shoot. And then they flew me back to Florida State. Good. And I was back in Tallahassee, and I'm like, what just happened? Like, it's so...
What a mind trip that must have been. Like, now you're just back in life again.
Yeah, for sure. It was crazy. And then I was like, all right, but they're not going to choose me, so I don't have to tell my mom or dad or anybody or anything.
They didn't know yet.
Yeah, I know. Because they trust me too, that I'm going to do things that I either believe in or it's just like, I think.
If I pieced out somewhere else for a week and didn't tell my family where I was, they would be so mad.
Is, amazing, and either.
And yes, I mean that even as an adult, like, if I just, they would worry about me. I feel I will never have children, but like I think about my theoretical 19-year-old daughter flying out to the Playboy Mansion and being charmed that she got a free flight and a free limo. And then,
a good experience or something really cool. I didn't see it in a negative way at all, because I thought it was like empowering and it's beautiful and it's classic and timeless. So I was like, I'll do it. But then they called me and they were like, oh, you got a centerfold for 2011. We're going to publish it. You have to fly back out here and do your centerfold shoot. And I'm like, how much does it pay?
Right.
Again. And then they're like, oh, it's $25,000 for the centerfold. And for me at that time, I'm like,
a ton of money.
Yeah. I was like, I can buy a new car or something with that, or pay for my apartment. But then I had to tell my parents, and my dad was like, well, if you want to be in the CIA, you can.
Just go to the CIA.
I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I had to debate whether or not I wanted. I was like, well, it's an opportunity, and it landed in my lap.
Why would it affect her CIA dreams? Is it because your coworkers could have seen you naked? I don't know. I don't think it should affect your CIA dreams to pose naked in a magazine. Listen, if you were being naked to extract state secrets and passing them on to a foreign government who was going to use them against the United States, I would understand how that would affect your CIA stuff. But you posing naked in a magazine for $25,000, I don't think it should be affected by that. But let's continue.
It's meant to be, so I'm just gonna go for it.
What a great lesson, by the way.
Go. No, it's true. Just do it. If it feels good, do it, and then either learn from your mistakes, or it's gonna be the greatest thing ever.
That opens some door in your mind then too, like
it's gonna be a great mistake, or they're gonna be the greatest thing ever. It's true. No decisions I can think of fall somewhere in between that. Come on.
Okay, maybe I like being in front of the camera. Maybe this is something. Is that when that started, literally, at that time? For
sure. Not for modeling, but more for acting. Because, like, me going out there, I just, like, saw the whole crew. I, like, met so many people in LA. Even when I was there for that week, a lot of sketchy people and a lot of, like, legit people, too, at the same time. So, and I went to a lot of really cool parties in LA when I was there too. So this is awesome. But it's funny how things go full circle too. Because when I was out there for Halloween, I met Paris Hilton, and it was like her birthday or Halloween party or something. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I get to meet Paris Hilton. And then now it's like I see her
all the time
everywhere in LA. And that was in like 2010. We're 2018 now. But
so you like that was like that's a major life turning point then. So that shoot and that going out there and stepping into that door. And it's like, I think lesson for everybody that's out there too that are entrepreneurial or business minds. Like, hey, when a door opens, if it feels right, you need to step into that door.
How many of us can identify with this particular door opening for us though?
because there aren't probably many more coming, right? Like if you don't do that, you don't step into that opportunity.
That's right, young ladies. If you get an opportunity to pose nude and you don't take it, you're probably not going to get other opportunities. God, no, don't listen to these people.
You probably aren't in the CIA either, right? Your whole life is probably completely different from this point, right?
You got to choose your path.
And think about like that one decisions, you've impacted like millions.
She wanted to go into the CIA. She decided it was more worth it to pose naked. Like, is that something we really, her dream, she's not going to have her dream now, supposedly. Is it more important to impact millions of people, or is it more important to actually do the thing that you want to do?
Millions of people from that one decision. Do you ever get your head around that? I'm just curious, like, man, like I reach a lot of people.
That's not me. I used to have a lot of sirens on Main Street. I am on a back road now. I had a motorcycle go by a little while ago, but that's pretty much been the only noise. So that's sirens on their end.
People with my stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap your mind around that because you know, you're on social media, I'm posting videos and I'm reading comments, so I'm able to see engagement and, you know, people's reactions to it, which is really cool. But at the same time, it's like, I can't picture a room with that many people. It's hard to like, you know, so it's like, that makes me be a little bit more conscious of the content that I'm putting out. And
I was going to say, you do that. Like, I really respect that about you. Like, I think your content, it's a little bit edgy and it's funny. It's actually hilarious. I was telling you, one of the videos that you have on twerking, I walked in, my wife was literally crying, laughing, watching that video, right? And like
the lack of skill for twerking.
Oh, but it's like, but I can tell when I watch your stuff, because you could go another direction with your stuff, right? Because you are so attractive. You have all these other relationships. It's like, there seems to me like there's a consciousness that you have about what you're producing and who sees it and kind of what represents. That's probably true, right? For you.
Half of my responsibility, I think, too. I mean, anybody that has influence, even for you, you know, you kind of want to put your best self forward. And at the same time, it's a little bit different with comedy too. It's like, I just want to make people laugh and smile and just like get out of the world for a second, because it can be a dark place sometimes, but it's amazing to be able to make somebody smile. But at the same time, it's like, I want to promote things, and that's why I love social media so much, is that I'm able to do comedy, but I'm also able to promote like good causes or promote like positive mindsets or, you know, and make sub accounts for those certain things.
That's why you're here, because like there's other influencers that have been on my show, right? You're here because I do think that you've taken this platform, like, and we'll talk some of these things, like some of the stuff you've done with orphans or your vegan stance and some things like that. Like, I love that you've used this platform for such cool stuff, which we're going to hopefully get into here. So,
all right. So before we go on, I want to look at her Instagram stuff and see this whole like funny but causes thing that she does. Okay. So
speaking, I just want to say that just
okay, that's one. Besties with breasties. Okay.
Is a little bit unsure what's happening. Here we go.
Okay. Corella's got nothing on me. All right.
not veggie.
Vern? Give me a sec.
Vern? Vern? Oh my God, Vern! Oh, Vern, you really outdid yourself.
You haven't seen nothing yet.
My favorite song! I think we're good, right?
Okay.
Are you sure you can drive?
Yeah, I got this. We're on a date.
Okay. You know where you're going! Oh, shit!
This person is a good actress. Okay. Okay. Okay.
All the way to that.
All right, I can do it. Saddle up.
Okay, I can't. Okay, so my read on this after seeing this content is that she's hot but quirky, which makes it funny. If she was not good looking and quirky, we would not be talking about her. Or if she was just adorable and funny, maybe we also wouldn't be talking about her. Listen, I'm not one of those jerk faces that doesn't think women are funny. I know many funny women. I would not necessarily categorize her as funny. I would categorize her as having, like, you know, she has a personality, you know, she's interesting, she's quirky, she's fun loving, but I don't know if funny is like a word I would necessarily use to describe her. But to each their own. Apparently, at least Ed Mylett thinks she's funny. So let's continue.
I want to tell you something about you that I think you're really gifted, though. Like you know, people ask me all the time, how do you get bigger on social media? There's going to be some strategy we're talking about. Like the bottom line of it is your content has to be great for whatever your audience is, and like your stuff is absolutely beautifully done. And it's like you're so gifted and talented. Like I think your stuff is funnier and more entertaining than things I see on television regularly.
Thanks,
no, I do.
awesome.
It's like,
yeah.
And I didn't know that because I didn't know that much about you several months ago. Then you came on my radar screen. I'm like, wow, this lady's really, because I think in 6 or 8 or 10 minutes on a YouTube video, with not all of the laugh tracks and these other things that people use in television, you got to legitimately have good stuff, right?
And be entertaining every second. Otherwise, people leave.
They leave, right? And your stuff is like one after the other so good. And the stuff you do with your boyfriend too. It's Johannes.
Yeah, Johannes.
Right? What's his last name? So he's
Bartel.
Right.
Bartel.
And everybody obviously that knows you probably knows him. But
and I butcher his name too. So
that's why I had
don't
you say
feel
it.
bad.
That's why I had you say it.
Yeah.
So let's talk social media. So that life-turning event starts to happen. You obviously make a transition. Then you blow up on Vine. Then they yank that out from under you, right? So like that platform goes away. So let's talk a little bit about what's made you successful in this space. So how much of it was you were lucky and it was timing?
70%.
I would say there's also, it's a mix of everything.
Okay, she's not gonna say a percent, but like 70 to 80% is luck and timing. I'm just gonna say it. It was even my business was luck, honestly. I had a job where I was paid very little, so walking away from it really wasn't that hard to do. And replacing the income wasn't like something that I struggled with. And I started marketing kind of right at the uptick of social media. So in my case, my particular brand of success is 70 to 80% luck. And anybody who doesn't say the same, and privilege, maybe we can up it to 90 if we throw privilege in there. I'm not sure what percentage of the pie graph that would be, but 90% luck, timing, privilege, all lining up for me. I hope she acknowledges it, but I'm not sure if she will.
I would say it's luck, it's timing, it's hard work.
Yeah.
You know, it's when everything, but that's, you know, when preparation meets opportunity, you know? So it's like, you got to be, so I'm going to backtrack a little.
Yeah.
So when I did the Playmate thing, I was like, okay, I had 6 months left of college. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go for this. And I moved down to Miami Beach, and my whole family's in West Palm Beach. So I'm like, I'm so close to family.
Yeah.
And then I went down there and I did live EDM event hosting.
Okay.
So in Miami, that's, if you go to Miami,
Huge.
there's very limited acting there. I think they just filmed Ballers there and Pain and Gain, and I was in like the background scenes of that.
Okay.
But so when I was out there, I was like taking acting classes and stuff, and then I started to realize, all right, I really need to be in LA if I wanted to do more acting. And I had really no social media following at this time, like none from being a Playmate Centerfold, like none from that. That didn't help me there at all. And then I was like, you know, maybe I can use that as a stepping stone to really push my career, you know, into acting. So then I moved out to Los Angeles, and I knew some people out there from being back and forth sometimes.
That was gutsy, though. You chased your dream.
Yeah.
Right? Like most people don't do it. You chased your dream.
You have to go where the opportunity is too. So it's
right. And you also have to have the means to do that. You know, you need to have like money saved up or a supportive family structure where if it doesn't go well, you can go back home. Listen, I'm not saying this woman didn't work hard or that anyone else who's successful didn't work hard. I'm just saying that I just know a lot of people who work hard that don't ever reach this level of success. And it's not because they didn't work hard. So I know that we tell ourselves that we worked hard to get here. So it feels better when we reach that level. But we also, I don't know. It's not entirely realistic to think it's just that now, is it?
It wasn't in Miami unless I wanted to do music, and I didn't. So, but then I moved out to LA, and then I was trying to get management and representation out in LA, and literally everybody was like, all right, well, you're a Playmate and that's what you are, so we're just going to focus on that. I'm like, no, that was so spontaneous. It's not what I want to do. I've done the most in that world that I could ever do and, you know, be proud of. And from there, I just want to build my career and do more. And the response was just always like, no, or this is what you are. And I'm like, okay, this is impossible. Like I need to build a reel for myself and really show what I can do. And
okay, sorry, I'm getting bored. Also, that guy just walked by and it distracted me. I'll let her finish, and then we're going to go look at her IMDb.
Then I had some friends that did YouTube, just meeting through different people. And one of them was Jimmy Tatro. He does like a lot of bro comedy, and he's an actor now as well. And he has his own Netflix show and everything. So he's killing it. But then I told Jimmy, I was like, hey, you have your YouTube show. If there's ever a moment where you need actors, I'm trying to build a reel.
Got it.
And then he was the one that told me, oh, well, there's this app called Vine that you can get on, and it's really great because you need to learn how to edit, you need to learn how to shoot and angles and all that stuff. So it's like a simple app. It's only 6 seconds long, but comedy is like a huge thing on there. He's like, you're a funny person, you could do it. And I'm like, okay, I'll try. And then so I started using Vine, and my first Vines ever were the worst things in the world, just because I didn't know how to, like, what I was doing or anything about like filming. You know?
Relate to that with my stuff.
Yeah. So then I just started studying Premiere and editing and just like learning all that, because I didn't have a budget to pay people to do things. And, you know, I didn't have access to a whole team that nowadays I have you know, more access to. So I started doing the Vines, and then my Vines started getting more and more popular, and I noticed I was getting on like the top pages, like the more I learned about it. And then I was like, okay, this is fun, you know, making content. I didn't know, I saw there being an opportunity there just because a lot more people were supporting me now, but not like, it was also a little bit of a battle on there also, because I was doing these Vines and then some of the comments were super negative, and it kind of puts you down a little bit if you're not used to that. And it was like, slut, da, da, da. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna, and I was getting those comments when I was wearing like, you know, a tank top or something like that, you know, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to wear any tank tops anymore. I'm just going to solely focus on the quality of my comedy and just cut that out from people's like vocabulary. And I started doing more of that and gaining more respect for the comedy. And then at the same time, then I just started adding like different like sexy elements and anyway back in there, because I'm like, a woman should be sexy. You shouldn't have to hide that. And at the same time, so I started going on there and started doing collaborations with other influencers on there. Like who's my best friend now is this guy King Batch. He's hilarious and he's so funny.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so we all just started doing collaborations, like the top influencers on there, and really built a community.
So that was a big part of it. Your growth was, let's talk about 2 points you made there. I want to hone in on them. So number one was the hater stuff. So a lot of people on social media, like I just feel like I get some of that too. Like, how do you deal with that then and now? Like, it's just there because
So I'm going to mention 2 things here. Number one, she joined an emerging social network, being young and pretty and talented, right? The other thing is she said she joined up with other people who were on Vine and they kind of boost each other up. So just like these gurus, like interview each other and promote each other's courses and write excerpts in each other's book jackets, no matter what industry you're in, it's important to collaborate with other people because you're going to be able to get in front of their audiences. They're going to vouch for you and you're going to be able to grow a lot more quickly. So I think that's the second point he's going to come back to, but let's see how she deals with the haters.
Oh, that holds a lot of people back.
Yeah.
What starts to happen, I think, is that people start to try to only make content that they think other people will like, and then they've broken the golden rule, which is being you, right? Don't you agree with that? So, so how do you deal with the hater stuff, or did or do?
First I would cry.
No, really? Did it really upset you?
There was only one time that I got like really emotional about it because I'm by myself out in LA, like all my family's back there. And I didn't really know a ton of people out here. And then I'm just reading all these negative comments. I'm like, why is that mean? I'm just trying to do stuff.
Right.
And then, but then you get over it. And then after a while, like you see a bunch. And then I was like, I'm just going to reply and see what they say if I reply. So I replied, I'm so sorry you had such a hard day. And I remember doing this, and this was like in the beginning of Vine. And then the people are like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I had no idea you were going to see this. I had a hard day. I was just taking it out on you and blah, 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 and da, da, da. And it just went on and on. I'm like, the psychology of it is just people have a computer that they can hide behind and just say the worst things in the world to people and feel like they're not even going to see it or just get their anger out real quick.
Can I tell you how amazing what you just said is? I want to jump in on something like that is totally true because I've done this. I don't respond anymore, but I'm like, they do say to you, like, I didn't think you'd see it. Like it really almost has nothing to do with you. Honestly, it has literally to do with the time your message found them. Isn't that crazy? But I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like I found the same exact thing.
No, it's so true. And even after that, I just started ignoring it. And then the more I grew my fan base, the less I got of that and the more loyal people became and supportive. But also, and I got to a point where they were just sticking up for me and I didn't have to anymore. So I'm like, that's great. But then also just not replying to them is the best thing that you can do too.
Totally agree. I stopped.
Yeah,
I totally agree. You got to just stop.
Because the other people are noticing, oh, they're getting attention for being mean. Let me be mean.
You got it. Now, the other thing you've done and we'll talk about Vine to YouTube in a sec, because it is interesting. If you have a platform, I think sometimes, what if they yanked Instagram from me? Like, am I prepared on other platforms, right? For you business people that are out there. But the other way that you just want to touch on just critical points, the way I've grown my podcast, the way you grew your following, collaboration is so critical, isn't it? With doing well when collaborated with, but at any level you're at, maybe you can't go do this type of collaboration, but there are people in your space that are near your size or a little bit bigger that you should be seeking out. Do you want to at least recommend this? That you collaborate with to help build each other's followings and the I guess the united energy of what you're producing together. True, no matter what the business is.
I would say that was the reason why so many of the Viners were so successful, is because they put aside like the idea of competition between each other and just collaborating more. So we all were like a cast with each other's videos, and that's why we grew, because even though my best friend was my best friend and we're in a lot of videos together, his content is different than mine because he creates differently than I do. So he has a different following that crosses over to me and then mine crosses over to him. So if you're tagging each other, it really helps. And I've talked to so many different people about just social media in general, and a lot of experts in the space and stuff too. And what they always say is just doing collaborations is the fastest way you can ever grow. So that's why a lot of companies do influencer marketing.
There you go.
Because it's a big collaboration. And as long as it's organic and the influencers believed in it and it's a good partnership, it'll do well.
It's amazing because like, this is such good content, because people say, I'm a social media expert. Well, you are a social media expert it's like when I go to a gym like this,
Yeah.
I want to be trained by somebody who's fit.
Right.
But just because you grew your own social media doesn't mean the method you grew your social media is able to be replicated, right? So just because you were able to make your body fit does not mean that you can't approach me and help me make my body fit necessarily. You might recommend weights that are too heavy for me and I might pull a muscle. You might recommend exercises for me that I can't do well. You might not correct my form and I end up learning to do things incorrect. Do you see what I mean? Like, just because you're able to do it for yourself doesn't mean you have the knowledge of what went into that you're able to replicate it for someone else. Just saying. But yeah, I don't have a million people following me on Instagram doesn't mean I don't know how to use Instagram. But just because someone has 2 million people following them on Instagram does not mean they can help you get 2 million people on Instagram. It worked for them once. And they should be able to pluck someone random off the street if they knew that it was their methods and not timing or what they looked like or, luck or anything. They would be able to take their methods and replicate it with you and also get you 2 million followers. But none of them will make that promise to you. They won't.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're such a fitness expert,
Why don't you?
Or if you're such a social media expert, no offense, but why do I have more followers than you?
Yeah.
Right? Why, like, you dominate this space. You're clearly one of the...
Because you're in a network marketing company. All these network marketing trainers, by the way, even like the really bad ones have like 10,000 subscribers. I don't even have 300 people yet. You know what I mean? Like I think as of today, the day I'm recording this, I have 288. And it's not that my content is worse than them. I just I didn't get all my downline to subscribe. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's other ways of building social media followers besides that you're amazing at social media. Just saying.
5 or 7 experts probably on this earth right now in this space. And so first thing I want to do for you is just want to point out to all of our young listeners and also just to you, just to acknowledge like this story, you see the after. Everybody sees your after. You're in the midst of doing something great, but there's also this unbelievable story that's happened. But it started with like the courage to go chase that first dream, then to pack up and actually come out here and get all of that rejection, right? And then just keep.
But was it a dream or was it someone who was like, hey, you're hot, you should apply to Playboy? And she's like, okay, free trip, cool. I don't know if it was her dream. Her dream was to be in the CIA. Like,
keep swinging and keep fighting. Like you're going to have all these doors close on you when you're chasing your dream. And it sometimes isn't even a dream you completely get yourself. You kind of think you know what it is. And like what I want everyone to know is like, and this happened with you, is like sometimes pieces of your dream and your vision and your destiny reveal itself as you're chasing it.
Yeah.
Like you have to be in full speed chase and then these doors open and little elements happen and like, boom, all of a sudden you've got what you have, which is, and this is now, I know for you, we're going to talk in a minute, it's going to parlay into and has into more traditional media, into TV and movie. And someday you'll be leading some Marvel movie as the lead character or something, right? So like it's moved into that. You actually get more attention than many of the characters in those movies do on their social media already. So they'd be lucky to get you, that even get more viewers. So that's actual fact. So let's talk about some hardcore social media stuff. So you went from, let's give some tips to people that are like, I got 27 followers. I want 270, right? Or I want to move forward. So what are some of the keys? Like, let's talk platforms. So Vine got yanked from you when you were dominating there, and you've now managed to just parlay that into just, I mean, I heard this thing, they get 1 million a month new follower on Instagram for you. That's just like unreal to me, right? So what would you say to somebody who wants to grow their following? Is there a particular platform you think is the best one? Should they be on all of them? What would you say to certain people?
Be on every single one, be on the new ones, look in the app store, see different ones that are coming out and semi-relevant, not a lot of people know about it, and be the first on that one,
Oh, yeah. So she's kind of acknowledging here. She's one of the first people on Vine as it's growing, and it takes off with it. I was not one of the first people on Facebook, but I was an early user of Facebook. So that's where I took off. So looking at these emerging platforms. So, I mean, I might be a little late for TikTok, but there might be something else coming down the pike. social media wise. I'm trying to think of if I think there's something bigger than TikTok, but I think right now all the other social media platforms are trying to figure out, okay, TikTok algorithm is working really well for a lot of people. How can they replicate that algorithm or that success? And we see Instagram in particular going really hard on this. But yeah, being among the first on the platform is going to help you be bigger on that platform. But it's hard to predict that.
It is a lot about timing. It's really hard to grow on Instagram now and Facebook, but you still can. But it's a lot harder than in the beginning because not many people knew to make video content. I would say video content is the best form of content you could do, besides audio as well, because a lot of people consume content
audio-wise. But on Instagram, I agree. Still photo versus video. Video blows it away in terms of engagement. I totally do that.
And a lot of relatable content, whether it be, depends what you want to do. If you're a business trying to grow, think of things that people struggle with or the solution that you have as a brand, or look for other influencers. If you have a budget to do influencer marketing, like reach out to those people that have, similar interests as your company. And so I would say it's consistent content, and that's huge. You can't post once a month and expect to grow.
What's consistent to you? Something every day?
Yeah, I would say you have to post every day. You really need to invest in your social media because now it's a huge part of every single business that's out there today. So I can only think of probably a small handful that it isn't relevant for.
I know.
So I would say really invest in your social media, your website. That's huge too, especially for search engines when people are trying to find things. Look into SEO. Look for people that are very knowledgeable about social media as well and can help you with when people are searching for things. Run ads. Ads are great because now they have it on.
So she's basically like do everything. So like, I don't know. I guess if you want a more specific answer, talk to me or your local small marketing agency, because we get what it's like that you don't have an infinite amount of money to spend on this or an infinite amount of time. So what I ask for people is when I work with them is I say, okay, how many hours a week do you have to devote to this? And if you're not the one doing this, like, okay, and you're thinking about maybe a staff member who might be interested, like how much time a week do they have to devote to this? And what's your approximate monthly budget? And then I look at what they want to do and I say, okay, this is my plan. Okay, so we're going to get your employee trained on X, Y, and Z. We're going to do A and B. We're going to hold off on C until money starts coming in from our efforts. And then once we get money, we'll do C because that's more expensive and it's a little bit riskier, I guess, in terms of the things we're proposing to you. So like, anyway, so she's just like, do everything. And it's because she has 23 million Instagram followers and she probably has a budget where she can do everything. The other quick thing I want to bring up is if you're working with influencers, right, or content creators, it's not working with someone who has 23 million followers or nothing. There are a lot of people who are in the nano and micro influencer sphere of things who are like trusted local content creators or trusted in a very specific community. And while they might not have big followings, they have really good engagement, and they might even be less expensive than you hiring a nationally known influencer. So there are influencer directories. A lot of them take a pretty big cut. That said, people who are in these directories have built up their profiles and understand what it's like to work with companies. But there are influencer directories, but you can also approach influencers obviously individually and look at, hashtags related to your industry or related to your location. And you'll see people who are consistently posting about that, and they might be a good person to partner with. They don't have to have 23 million people. You don't have to give them a six-figure influencer budget. There is something between that national level and nothing that as a small business owner, you could be hitting.
On when even just a Google search or in the App Store, like you can put yourself as the banner. Yes. But if you don't have a budget, which a lot of startups don't really have, you just got to think of innovative ways to make unique entertaining content. And if you have to make it yourself, like I did, then
that's the thing about your stuff. So there's a couple things I noticed about you. So one, it's entertaining, number one, and people go, well, that's her space. No, all of your content has to be somewhat entertaining. But just there's been a lot here, so I just want to go through this. One, it's consistent. Two, more video than just still stuff. I watch people's feeds that are just still photos. It's like dead to me. There's no, I don't understand that. Like,
people want to know and see and hear and really like be a part of it. Like with just the photo, it's something you see, you scroll, you forget. With the video, it kind of resonates, and
that's huge. And I know people out there like, I can't create video content every day in my business. No, but you need to create some more than you do, right?
But then again, they can. You know, at the same time, it's hard. It is a lot of work, but
your whole job is creating content. You have to understand that like the average small business owner has other things to do in their day besides marketing stuff. So this whole like, you have time to create a daily video. I mean, what you can do is like batch content. So for example, today, the day I'm filming this, I'm filming 3 videos. This is video 2. I'm going to shoot for 3 after this. But so, you know, I don't have the time necessarily to do a full setup and whatever. But if I am going to put on makeup and get all set up, I might as well, you know, do a few of these. So you can batch content. You can reuse parts of videos you've already taken before to make the new video. But she's like, well, they could. Okay. That you go run a business, a completely unrelated to content business. Go run, a grocery store, go run a beauty salon, and then tell me that you have time to make video content every day. You do not.
It's something, if I'm able to do it by myself and have no idea how to edit or shoot or anything, and just do it on a phone at first, like if that's your style, do it and just start producing that content.
I agree with you, by the way. I totally agree. Like, and by the way, the amount of work that goes into what you're doing, I have such admiration for, because I know what it's like to produce content daily and really great content like you produce, with the shooting and the editing and the concept and the writing and all the things that you do in your space are just, it's magnificent what you do. And I think the audience also appreciates to some extent the work you do. A couple little things I noticed on your social that's interesting. I just want to know if you did this on purpose. So just for more tips. Your website's beautiful. But when I went to your website, like immediately it showed me your social media stuff too. So like you weren't wasting time with a bunch of BS. You're like, here's where else you can engage with me, right? And then also like your YouTube, right? When I go to YouTube, here's where else you can engage with me. Is that done tactfully and purposely?
For sure. You're wanting to build a community. And if somebody is over a certain page, or if they use another platform, why not follow you there? Because if you're having somebody that subscribes to your YouTube, they're probably going to be interested in your Instagram, and why not have them see you every day on Instagram as well, because you're just building a stronger fan or an even stronger customer, So
do you release, last thing on social for now, but do you release at the same time? Like I've noticed for me, like not only is my group sort of expect me to release daily, but they kind of get used to about the time I release, and the times I violate that window, my engagement level drops. Is that true for you?
It's huge. Mostly for YouTube, I would say it's important. For Instagram, I don't think so as much. It just depends. You have to look at your location where your following is and post when people wake up. Is
that right? Is that wake up is about?
I mean, that was my strategy.
I have a whole video I did about why timing on social media, you can't make any hard and fast rules about it without just experimenting for yourself. I'll link the video in the show notes if you want to go watch it.
He has a different theory on it. And honestly, when I'm posting on my accounts, I don't time out my Instagram posts. I just post it whenever I feel like it. Sometimes I post 3 times a day. Sometimes I post 1 time a day. So, but I think it's different once you have grown that large following, then people just appreciate you posting in general. So it's nice. You have to work for it. I remember on Vine though, when I first started posting, I was like, okay, I have to post at 3 a.m. every single day. So I was posting at 3 a.m., making sure I was up, setting my alarm and posting, because you couldn't, with Instagram, it was like the worst. You couldn't schedule anything. You had to edit like on a hack version of the app. And it was just a pain. But I would say timing's important if you're new or using YouTube.
Okay. Wow, that's great stuff. Okay. Let's talk about you now a little bit. Now they all want to know more about you. So how do you determine like what you'll promote? So you must get hit up constantly for promotional stuff. How do you determine? Obviously part of it's money, I'm sure, but like, how do you determine what you'll promote, what you'll put your name on now?
Well, no, especially because a lot of different brands do reach out to me now. I'm able to be super, super selective, and I don't have that financial need that I needed when I was in college.
Yeah.
So at the same time, I'm able to now really look at a brand, and I don't really like doing one-off posts and one-off deals with brands just because it's as if I was following myself and I just saw me posting about a million things, like I would lose the trust in that person just because they weren't being organic and it's not loyal. It's not, you can see right through it, you know, and it's easy checks, but at the same time, I'm thinking long-term. So I'd rather do collaborations with brands that I'm either a part of or invested in and I truly 100% believe in. And otherwise my audience knows me so well that they're going to see right through that. If I'm going on there and promoting a chicken sandwich, like they're going to be like, Amanda, really sell out. So at the same time, it's like you want to do things that benefits your audience that they'd be interested in. You want to do things that are great products, like, you know, things that you actually believe in and would use.
Yeah.
And I always try to get, like if I do a brand deal, I try to get a hookup for my fans as well, just because it's like me doing something nice for them also on a product that they would already want to use.
Yeah.
So it's,
I try to get them a deal, and then if they make a purchase, I make additional money. It's called affiliate marketing. I did a video about it. Actually, I think I did 2. I'll link the videos I've done about affiliate marketing as it relates to small business below, because I don't think most of us can relate to having a brand deal with 23 million followers. Although maybe one person watching this can.
beneficial and they appreciate that.
You also have done a lot of stuff like philanthropic, like charitable stuff. I worked in a group home campus with my boys, were basically orphan boys when I was young. That's how I started my business career.
Wow.
That's what I did.
He did it it's so funny because it's mentioned in his bio. He did it like 20 years ago. I don't know. Can I use, like, when I answered the domestic violence hotline for 2 years, can I still use that as like for cred? I mean, it was 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, it was 20 years ago at this point, pretty much. I don't know. That feels like too far away for me to like talk about it, but anyway. I also, why hasn't he volunteered for anything more recently than what he did right out of college? That's what I wonder too.
And so it's always sort of been my heart and calling to do stuff for kids. And so talk about just a couple of the things like you're super passionate about that you've been doing too.
Yeah, well, when I really first started getting into, you know, charity and just helping out, I was in Miami and some of my friends were going to Haiti a bunch. And I was like, well, what are you doing over there? And it's like, well, with the earthquake, and they told me all about it. And I just got like super into it. And then, so I started doing like fundraisers, and I didn't have a huge influence at that time, but I still could help just through who people I knew and just promoting it and networking, I guess.
Well, I love that because people get really famous, then they're all of a sudden charitable, right? Like you did it not for your brand, you did it from your heart. So go ahead.
Well, it feels good. I mean, I think I recommend everybody does something that helps others. The only way that you can truly be happy is if you're creating happiness in others. I mean, if you're just spreading, you know, yourself or just negativities.
If you're just recording an interview podcast and are the head of a multi-level marketing company,
so you're not ever truly happy. But so when I was in Miami, I was like, okay, yeah, I would love to do stuff. And I started getting donations and stuff and just giving it to the, you know, Michael Capone was one of the guys that was going back and forth to Haiti a bunch, and Jack Mill. And then I was like, if there's any way I can help or if I can ever go, like, let me know. And then he's like, yeah, for sure, come. And the kids get so happy, especially not only are you bringing like educational supplies and stuff, which is the most beneficial for children, I think, is just being able to provide them with education. That way they can self-sustain, you know. But so I went to Jack Mill, and the kids were so happy. The fact that people just go out there and spend time with them. And that was like, it's like a little kid on Christmas Day getting like the favorite gift in the whole wide world was like how these kids acted every single.
This might be a mean take, but I genuinely don't understand why people need to go to third world countries in distress if they don't have a specific skill or way to help. But these whole like influencers or whatever who like fly in and I don't know, take pictures with these like children in other countries and like they're helping them learn even though they're like there for a day. I don't know. I just don't understand it. I was in a Rotary club that had a wheelchair project, and I think we raised money. I forgot how much the wheelchairs were a piece. They were like the electronic ones. And I think we had a certain amount of members of our club go. I forget what country they were going to, but they went, and the reason they went was the wheelchairs were part of the luggage. So like people could so they could be transported, and so that they could check the bag and, you know, it was a wheelchair. And then secondly, all the volunteers that went on the trip were trained on how to fit a wheelchair to a person. So they were dispersed in teams with the wheelchairs and fit like, I don't know, 100 wheelchairs in like 4 days or something with a bunch of people. I understand that. Just going to a school and seeing children learn, I don't know.
That
That's
they
beautiful.
just saw somebody. So it really humbles you being able to go, and I recommend it to literally everybody. But that was something I started doing, and then I moved out to LA to, you know, pursue my goals and make some money, because I needed to make some money too. And so I moved out to LA, and that was just so far. I couldn't fly back and forth from Miami, so I just started really focusing on work. And then when I started growing on social media and just being able to make some money as well, I'm like, all right, well, I would love to be a part of something and be able to give back with the audience that I have. And I've done stuff like things here and there for stuff in Haiti. Like I went to Port-au-Prince and stuff there, and with the orphanage there, the Tim Katek orphanage, which is like, the kids are amazing. But there's also what recently happened in Puerto Rico, which was the hurricane, and it just completely destroyed Puerto Rico. Like they needed a lot of help, and I was in New York when I saw it on the news and just watching it, and I was like, I wish I could do something. And I'm like, wait, I can.
Well,
I can.
Yeah, so I just posted.
Good for her for realizing that she has the power to do something.
On my social media. I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but I was like, I'm starting a GoFundMe. If you trust me with your money to go directly to this cause, like donate. And then I raised over 100,000 in like a week a week and a half. And then from there I was like, okay, I have all this money, and like now I need to find the best way to
I love this.
Give it to Puerto Rico or the people there, and find out where it can be the most impactful, instead of just sending things and not even know where it's going. So I had one of my friends in New York, Jack Morris, he's amazing, like he owns his own hospital. And then so he has a bunch of people that were able to volunteer, and he's like, oh, that's your cause, I love that. And he's all about doing good. And I was like, yeah, if we could borrow your plane, because I met up with this guy, Jack Brewer, who has the Jack Brewer Foundation. He does a lot of charitable causes, and even in Haiti. So I was like, hey, what's the best way? And then he knew Miss Puerto Rico.
Awesome.
So she connected us with like the town that needed the most help there and what they needed, which was water. And then Jack knew of the water tablets, so we were able to bring more down than just gallons of water, because one like cleaned a whole gallon of water. So I was like, all right, that's great. So Jack told me where to put the money, where it was like the water tablets, and because he had all the research on that, and the generators. And then,
or why not trust the people who are on the ground there to like, why not give to a larger organization that can distribute the funds more effectively? This whole like, we have to figure it out, we have to send the tablets or whatever. I don't know. I just don't understand how you think you know more than the people who are on the ground doing the humanitarian work. Whatever aid organizations were there.
The other Jack donated the plane and brought 12 physicians that were just going to stay there and like help people. And then we just flew it down like the next month. We like flew it down there and just went down for a whole day and just like distributed everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and just came back, and that was amazing. Yeah.
Like, I want to just thank you for that. I'm grateful that you did it.
It felt amazing though.
But you did something unique there. I want everybody to know this. Number one, you used your notoriety to get your connections, raise the money, but then you also showed your followers where their money was going.
Yeah.
So it wasn't some black hole of a charity that we all hear about, and 70% of the money goes somewhere else. Like you said, hey, no, this is what we're doing with it. And like those of you that are like chasing a dream, like,
she didn't know what she was doing with it. She collected the money and then decided what she was doing with it after, and then told people. Like, it's not like she was like, oh yeah, give because this is where it's going. Oh, God.
Who'd have thought when she leaves Florida, comes out here, and everyone's like, no, you're a playmate, blah, 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 all these doors are shutting, that you'd find yourself 6-7 years later doing this with your notoriety. Like you making your dream happen, you chasing your dream impacts people's lives in ways you can't imagine right now. If you'll keep chasing it, right? If you'll keep getting after it, you're like such a cool example of that. So, and knowing this is like sides of you they don't see. So there's like this beautiful, funny, like I want them to see this.
God, he is like up her butt. Like, I'm kind of curious how he does other interviews, but he is just like
side of you, because this is what makes people successful. Not just notoriety, not just fame, but taking their great gifts and talents and making the world better.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
And I would say also too, like, you know, just going back to business, just networking like crazy and finding like the people that you really like and enjoy and feel like, you know, a good person too. Because what I've learned, especially being out in Los Angeles, is that you really just want to work with people that feel have good energy and just feel good to be around, because if you're not, it's just gonna just put you down. And
so true. This town swallows more people up that way than it elevates.
For sure.
And what is good about that, you make a great point though, is like you do kind of know almost immediately when you meet the good energy people, because it's kind of rare anywhere, but especially out here, right? Like you know immediately. We got a few more things. So I want to like ask you a few things that like I'm curious with for like my daughter. Okay. So I have a 14-year-old little girl. And so your followers are all kinds of people. There's dudes like me, and we're laughing at videos and enjoying ourselves and being entertained. There's men that watch you, but there's a lot of young women who look up to you. Like you're a role model, like a superhero kind of to a lot of young women. And so I'm just curious, like to young ladies out there who want to be somebody, like, what would you just, if you could say something to young women just in general about their lives, what would you tell them?
I would say it's just really embracing who you are. It sounds so cliche, but it's so true. I've noticed a lot of young girls.
What would you tell to all women right now?
Girls and guys even just want to be social media stars. They want to be famous on social media, and that is their goal. Like for most kids nowadays. And I'm like, okay, but anytime somebody says that to me, I'm like, what do you want to do with that? Like you want to be famous, cool, but what does that mean? Because at the end of the
money, fame, being recognized places, getting to live a cool life, perks.
The day, like if you're famous or successful, if you're not doing something that you love and you're not passionate about, you're not going to be happy, and you're honestly, you're just not going to get there anyway, because you're not going to be successful doing something that you hate. But at the same time, so I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? And a lot of them just go blank. They're like, well, I don't know. I just want to be famous, because there's so much work that goes behind it, and it's not an easy process, especially now because there's so much content online, that if you want to be famous on social media, I want them to just stop saying that. I want them to say, oh,
you want them to stop saying that, because it's probably not as possible for them as it was for you. I wish these people would say the quiet parts out loud.
Create comedy videos, or I want to make people laugh, or I want to build a business, or like, okay, cool. Like that's something I like to hear. But the only way you're going to do that too is just being super, super organic. Stop watching videos of, you know, vloggers or whatever and trying to reenact what they're doing.
Stop watching my videos and try to be me.
Because it's not organic to who you are as a person. And really, and I think the young generations though do what they do have a one up on is the fact that they care about the world a little bit more than the older generations. I think that's just because they're so well educated in that, and there's so much access to information. But just do something with that, like I don't know. No, my advice is a little bit everywhere. So.
No, it's great advice. It's the same advice as a 47-year-old male I would give somebody. Ironically, like I would tell them, like, hey, it's not going to get it for what the reason is. It's what you would actually do. It's the impact you can make. And it's also like honestly, you gotta chase your passions. You gotta use your natural giftedness. Like if you've leveraged some real natural giftedness and then worked super hard on that gift to make yourself successful. And so it's exactly the same advice that I would give. It's really incredible that way. Now I'm curious about you. I got 2 more things for you. I actually have like 17 more things for you, but I got time to ask you 2 more things. I want to be in your brain a little bit. What like drives you?
Making a difference.
I'm just never satisfied. Like it's maybe a bad thing, but I'm never fully satisfied.
Are you happy?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what matters.
No, I'm really happy. Well, when I say I'm not satisfied, is like I don't think I've done to my full potential what I can do.
Yes.
So that's why I'm just kind of like I have so much drive because I know I can do so much more.
Yeah, I feel like we all feel that way, right? Like we all feel like there's a lot we could do.
And I have a goal of where I want to be and what I want to do. I want to build businesses. Like I have these certain things that I want to do there. And I just acting, like I just either want to create my own shows for film and TV. And now the two worlds are merging so much, especially with like Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, like all those are kind of coming together. So it's joining the world's social media who are talented actors as well and traditional actors. And before at the time, no other celebrities or anybody was using social media like we are, but now we have Will Smith on social media posting every day, just funny videos. So I'm like, it's so relevant now, and that just motivates me even more too. I'm like, I was doing that before all of them were doing that. So I'm on the right path here. Like my mind's in the right place. But at the same time, like you said, rejection happens through your course of reaching your dreams. But for me, it still happens, like I still like go into a casting room or go in for an audition or something and I won't get the role. And I'm like, oh man, why not? But then, and it just wasn't right for me. But then, or I'll have a meeting, and this was like 2 years ago, I would have meetings with producers and directors. It was like back to 2011 again, when they're like, oh, but you're a social media influencer. You that's what you do. I'm like, yeah, but I have this whole network of people that want to see me succeed and appreciate my dreams, and that's what I'm aiming for. And they're like, yeah, but that's what you are. I'm like, don't tell me that. Now I'm gonna have to do this again. But
it's interesting you say that, because I talk about living blissfully dissatisfied. So that means why I love the word that you use, because I think there's no correlation between being happy and losing your drive. Like you can be completely happy and totally dissatisfied simultaneously, right? People confuse those two things. Like, wow, if I let myself be really happy right now, I'm gonna lose all my drive and ambition, right? Or in order to be really successful, I need to like restrain myself from being happy. The thing that strikes me about you is like, you're really driven, you're not satisfied, yet you're really enjoying your life, right? You're enjoying your friends, you're enjoying your relationships. The cool thing for you now, and this is why we'll make a clip out of this part too, but like really the truth is that the worlds are converging now and crossing over, the social media and traditional world. Like the biggest movies in the world, other than like the Avengers, is a guy like The Rock. Well, and Dwayne's a great guy. He's going to be on the show, but I don't think that he's making the biggest movies in the world necessarily because he's that much better an actor than everybody else. It's because he's got this massive army of people rooting for him to do well. And so producers would be fortunate to get somebody with such a massive army rooting for them in their pictures as well. So like it's
I think The Rock is actually pretty good. And I don't know, based on the brief acting I saw from her, I don't know. I feel like The Rock is a better actor than her. I'm just gonna.
There's a benefit to that, just like before. That's going to cross over to where it's an advantage of yours. I was watching something last night with an interview, and the guy literally said someday, he goes, the reason Trump got elected is he's got 25 million people on Twitter. The guy said, do you think someday, like, we're going to literally elect presidents based on their social media following? And the guy said it actually already happened once. And Obama defeated the guys he was running against, McCain, because he had a social media presence initially too. So it's like
popularity.
It really is becoming such it's like you said, relevance. I think you're almost irrelevant without some presence there. So my last question you kind of answered, but I just like it to be more like, I'm going to dig a little deeper. And so specifically, so that's what drives you. But like, if it was 5 years from now, I said you could wave a wand, where would you be in your life and in your career? What would that look like? Are you in a specific movie? Are you playing a type of character?
Okay, I'm going to predict this. She is an executive director of like a hit TV series or a movie series, and she has a family. That's what I'm going to predict.
Are you married? Like, what would it be for you in 5 years? What's your dream life in 5 years? So that in 5 years, when we do this again, we can play this part of the tape.
Very happy, successful actress, having my own lead roles in large movies, whether they be in theaters, which not a lot of people go to theaters anymore unless it's like one of those huge like Marvel movies or something, or my own series on Netflix or HBO, just like those amazing ones that they always do, and even directing.
you'd love to do that.
I do. Yeah, I have so much fun doing that. I've
And then she's not on camera because she's going on auditions and not getting parts, which we'll see in a second.
noticed, and I hear this a lot, is like I am really passionate about it. So it's like I always end up either directing other people's skits or videos, and like sometimes even like friends' music videos and stuff. So it's just like fun for me because it's like putting a puzzle together almost in a creative way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun.
I totally see that. Like you're like an exploding star that's like still rising. Like if you were a stock, I'd buy you.
Hey.
Because I see those things happen. It's funny, just to confirm what you said, driving up here, I could see you in one of those Marvel movies, but I actually was driving up, I think about my guests. I actually pray about them the night before, and then I think about them. And usually they come to my home. This is different today. And it was interesting. I was picturing a series with you. It's interesting. And I don't know if I was watching it in my mind on Netflix or what it was, but it was a series about you that like people were just enthralled with, because there's an interesting charisma you have to be playing the character that is also you to keep it interesting. And you have that. I think you're wonderful.
Thank you.
I really do. Like I really enjoyed today a lot.
I did too. It was full of compliments for me. I'm
Yeah,
feeling
full of
good.
compliments.
I only have people on whom I respect and that I enjoy what they do. So thank you so much.
No,
for
thank
today,
you.
Amanda. So everybody,
Great.
where can they find you? Like,
Oh yeah,
come on.
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat,
Pinterest.
Oh, and Zeus.
That's right. We didn't get to Zeus.
It's fine, but I'll
Okay.
just give a little snippet. It's this new platform that I'm creating with 2 other influencers, and it's a VOD platform, and it's basically a series for influencers who want their own series or don't have access to productions to make cinematic content. So yeah, we're launching that very, very soon in July.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you know where you can find me because you're watching this. And so
Has anyone ever heard of this platform that she's talking about? Because I haven't.
I've already found me. I just ask one favor for all of you. I bring you some of the most amazing people on the planet, and we don't charge you anything for this because I just want to help change the world through these great people. I just
What a
ask that
giver.
when you're watching this, that if you're watching on YouTube, throw it a comment and a like. But if you're on iTunes, these other platforms, if you write a review, it helps us keep moving up. We were #1 in the business space last month, and I'd like to stay there. And I want to remind all of you, I also run the 2-minute drill on Instagram, so that every time I make a post within the first 2 minutes, if you make a comment with a hashtag max out, I select a winner every day to get coached by me or gear from me or introductions like this from me. And so make comments as well there in the 2-minute drill.
Oh,
God
that's
bless
how he
you,
gets
everybody,
the
and max out.
engagement.
Bye guys. Mwah.
That's how he gets the engagement. Okay, so that video was filmed in 2018. It looks like it was posted on May 22nd of 2018. Okay, so 5 years from now is right about now. Well, actually early next year. But let's take a look at Amanda's IMDb page and see how she's doing booking some movies here. So this year, she's been in a podcast series. In 2021, she was in an episode of iCarly, in an episode of Trish and Scott. And in 2020, she was in a movie called The Babysitter Killer Queen, Deported, and Gippy Gruel featuring Amanda Cerny, Where Baby Where music video. So, yeah. You know, I think it's one thing to be able to play yourself personally and be personable. I feel like I'm okay at that. I would be awful as an actress. I can't memorize lines. I can't pretend to be other people. I can't pretend to have emotions I don't necessarily have. So whatever you see in my face, I mean, it's pretty transparent. So what did we learn from Ed Mylett today? I didn't think he was a fantastic interviewer. He was rustling a lot of papers, and like I said, he was kind of upper ass, which is not like a normal interview thing. Usually interviewers are a little bit more like, you know, you're both at kind of the same level. I felt like he was like, oh, you're so great. You're so great. And it was the imbalance, I don't know, didn't make for a compelling back and forth. I'd have to see his other interviews to see if he's good at interviewing. But in this interview, I wasn't particularly impressed with his interview skills. So what did we learn from Amanda today and Ed in this interview? Well, we learned that to be successful, being hot and funny, getting the centerfold of Playboy and using that for Hollywood connections, and joining an emerging social network at exactly the right time will help you translate to social media success. Just kidding. We can't act on that. Okay, here are things we can actually sort of act on First of all, work on making your own content. So if you have to make videos, sort of filming yourself, getting the tech set up, doing your own editing and all that will help you understand what you're doing from all sides. So it helps you be a better creator, obviously, if you know the different parts to what you're creating. Ignore the haters, because eventually your platform will be large enough that your fans will defend you. But if you feel like it, you can throw them a bone of compassion, and most of the time they will be shocked you even read their comment. And that's just a particularly classy way to deal with it if you want to do that sort of thing. Third is to collaborate with other people who are in the space. And by collaborating, you can get in front of their audience, they can get in front of yours, and it helps you to grow faster, more organically. You have to post consistent content and at least posting some video content. Amanda thinks you have time to post video content every day. I'm telling you as a marketing person that you probably don't, and that's okay. If you're going to be an influencer yourself, doing collaborations with brands versus doing one-off video promotions is an easier way not only to make more money from probably the same client, but also a way to keep the trust with your audience. Network like crazy. And of the people you meet, not all of them are going to be good. So only work with the good ones. And then Ed Mylett really he brought this up at the beginning, and then he brought this up, I think, 1 or 2 more times throughout, which is that, look at what you're gifted with and work on that to get the most bang for your buck. And finally, be blissfully dissatisfied, which is not to say that you're not happy with where you're at, but always striving for more is a good way to be. Do I think Ed Mylett knows what he's talking about? Well, considering that he's been running a pyramid scheme for 30 years and now just interviews people, I don't know if he has much knowledge, I feel like, to impart, but he's networked with all the gurus, so they're gonna keep elevating him. And I don't know if he necessarily knows a lot about social media. Based on the questions he was asking some pretty basic questions, so I'm guessing he doesn't either do a lot of his own social media or is not into social media kind of personally himself. So yeah, that's all I got for today. If you like this video, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. We post these videos every Friday, different guru every week. Sometimes I'll come back to some of them. So if you want to see more, you can check out the playlist on YouTube, or you can go on our website to the blog section and you'll see all of the videos and lots of other content there if you want to see more. And always looking for recommendations on gurus, specific videos, even topics is great. If you're like, hey, I'd like you to react to one about messenger marketing or something, whatever, I'm open to it. You can leave a comment on this video and I will see it. Or if you want to be more private, you can also fill out the contact form on my company website and I will see it. So thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day and see you next time. Take care.